Good evening and welcome to the school board meeting for Tuesday, November 16th. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Yetsey, Mrs. McCarthy,
Here.
Mrs. Saxon,
Here.
Mrs. Tamira,
Here.
Mr. Vaca.
Here. Finalization of the agenda. Is there anything to add and or delete?
The agenda is final as presented.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the written summary of the regular minutes for the meetings on October 4th, 2021 and October 19th, 2021.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. Saxon. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey, Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Right into the superintendent's treasurer's report.
Awesome. We have a pretty packed agenda tonight. We will begin with our staff and student recognition. And I would like to introduce Mrs. Andrea Vance from the Early Childhood Learning Community.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity tonight to introduce our two students of the month. I'd like to start with our first student of the month, which is Max Workman. And Max is in Mrs. Bykoski's kindergarten classroom. And Mrs. Bykoski says that Max is such a kind and wonderful helper and student. He is always so positive and such a good listener. Max works very hard on all of his school tasks and is always up for a new challenge. He is a good friend to others and always shares and takes turns with his peers. Keep up the great work, Max. Next, I'd like to introduce our student of the month from preschool, Adam Canto. Adam is a kind and generous friend to everyone he meets. He is an excellent peer model and oh, I love that tie, sorry. He is a great peer model and student and is always eager to learn new things. Adam likes to come to school, trying new things and new lessons and helping others. Congratulations, Adam. And next I'd like to introduce Mr. Heffron from Liberty.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Mitch Heffron. I'm the principal at Liberty, and it's my pleasure to introduce our students of the month. Our first student of the month is Henry Jean Frito, and he was nominated by Mrs. Erin Bogus. And here's what she has to say about Henry. Henry comes to class every day and tries his hardest. He's working hard to become a great reader. He is also courteous and friendly to everyone in class. I'm so glad to have Henry as part of our class this year. Great job, Henry. Our next student of the month was nominated by Mr. Levelia, and it's Olivia Baker. And here's what Mr. Levelia has to say. Olivia has been an amazing student since day one. She is a hard worker, she's a great participant, and an awesome role model to all the other kids in class. Olivia shows that she is Ranger strong when she is helpful, polite, and kind to others. It is for these reasons and many more that we are excited to have her as student of the month. Congratulations and awesome job, Olivia. Thank you, and this is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Michael King, principal of Henry.
Good evening, and I am very excited to introduce our 4 students of the month. Our first up is Sebastian. He comes to us from 5 Purple, and from his teacher team, Ben is a well-rounded Ranger strong student. He demonstrates maturity and respect in the classroom. He is accepting of his classmates, and he takes the time to personally engage with his teachers. Ben takes ownership of his classroom responsibilities by completing his assignments and making good behavioral choices. Ben's character shines and has made a positive impact in our 5th grade Purple Studio. Next up from 5 Yellow, we have Olivia Bottomley. Olivia is an excellent example of being Ranger strong. She is a hardworking, kind, and has a great positive attitude. Olivia is attentive in class and contributes to class discussions. She works well with others and adds to a positive academic environment. Olivia is a great role model for others. NREC is lucky to have students like Olivia to help make our school a better place. Coming from 6 Teal, we have Alexa Kendra. Alexa is a great example of being Ranger strong. She is very conscientious in her studies. She is considerate of others and is respectful of those around her. She makes all of us in 6 Teal better when she is around. Alexa, thank you for being Ranger strong and being you. From 6 Orange, we have Emmanuel Marco. Manny has been working diligently to become Ranger strong. He is becoming the student he has always wanted to be. He sets himself very high personal goals, and as the year has progressed, he is continuing to meet these goals. He has improved in so many areas and continues to work hard to be even better. Your studio teachers are so proud of your progress, as is all of NRAC. Keep up the good work. And I am happy to introduce Ms. Lee Armbruster. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Melissa Durkin. I didn't know Ms. Durkin. Apologies. Ms. Armbruster was ready to pitch it. She's ready to be Ranger strong.
Thank you. And I apologize, I just got back from the dentist, so if I'm being a little weird, it's because I'm still not. But I made it just on time. And I am very excited that I have been able to make it on time because we have 2 wonderful learners that we're going to be recognizing this month for our Students of the Month. The first is an 8th grader, Amari Reese. And this is what her coaches had to say about Amari. Amari Reese was nominated by her 8th grade coaches for demonstrating many qualities of Ranger Strong. Amari joined the 8th grade class this year, and she has made a wonderful addition to our class. To begin the year, Amari demonstrated the quality of service by immediately stepping up and joining our Start with Hello planning team to plan and create activities for our younger learners to help everyone feel welcome and included in our school. She exemplifies the quality of teamwork on a daily basis as she collaborates with her classmates on her PBL work. She works well with all of her classmates and helps to keep her team on track and moving forward in their work. Amari is very insightful and always willing to participate. She is extremely responsible to her classmates and coaches in the building. We are so happy Amari has joined us at RHTA. So we are excited because Amari, this is her first year that she was with us, and she's immediately joined the building culture. So congratulations, Amari. And then our second learner of the month has been with us in 2nd grade, and she is always working very hard. So I was really excited when she was nominated by the 4th grade coaches to be our student of the month. So Mariah Dunaway was nominated by her 4th grade coaches for displaying all of the characteristics for Ranger Strong. Mariah on a daily basis shows service, works well with her classmates, is respectful to staff and peers, takes ownership of her actions, always follows through on what she needs to be doing in class, and meets goals that she sets for herself. Mariah continues to work hard and persevere in the classroom. She is a great advocate for herself, and even when she feels frustrated, she pushes through and does her best. She always treats others with respect and is kind to everyone. Mariah is Ranger Strong. We are so proud of you, Mariah. Congratulations to Mariah for being chosen November's Student of the Month, and to Amari. Thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Lee Armbruster, who's going to be sharing our nominations from the high school.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm excited to be here for Miss Lormeau. She wasn't able to make it, and I'm happy to stand in to talk about these awesome students. First, we have Daylin Baker. Daylin Baker was nominated she's an outstanding candidate for the November Student of the Month. Her teachers helped select her because of her strong work ethic, her school involvement, and her Ranger spirit. Daylin is an excellent student. While here at North Ridgeville High School, she has maintained a high GPA. Daylin is a student who takes pride in her school and is very involved. She has also had a very challenging curriculum with AP courses and honors courses. Not only has she played softball and basketball, but she participates in the Champions for Life, the Varsity R, the NRA, the NHS, and the Student Council. Her favorite class is broadcasting. Outside of school, Daylin enjoys sports and hanging out with friends. Her dream college is the University of Alabama, where she would be interested in studying to become a nurse practitioner. And we just found out that she was accepted at the University of Alabama. So that's pretty exciting. Her spirit animal is a sea turtle. One thing we appreciate about Daylin is her pure leadership at football games. She played a huge role in making the Ranger comeback a success, attending every game and leading them with Ranger spirit. With her talents and leadership skills, she will have no doubt have many opportunities open to her. We are proud to count her among the 2 NRHS Students of the Month. So congratulations, Daylin. We'll have to call an old teacher from the middle school, Miss Harrelson, who is retired, who is a Alabama fan. I will be okay. Our next Student of the Month is Yamara Iberagire. EMR is an outstanding candidate for November Student of the Month. Her teachers helped her select her because of her academic prowess and her school involvement. EMR is an outstanding student. While here at NRHS, she has maintained a high GPA while pursuing a challenging curriculum that has included several honors courses and AP courses. Service learning and yearbook. Ziamara is a quiet leader who has played tennis and who is involved in Sparkle Cheer, Leo Club, Conservation, and Spanish Club. Her favorite class is AP Composition and Literature. Outside of school, Ziamara enjoys drawing and jewelry making. Her dream college is John Carroll University, where she would be interested in studying to become a forensic psychologist. Her spirit animal is the llama. These young women are highly accomplished and certainly have bright futures. We are proud to count her among 2 NRHS Students of the Month for November. Congratulations to Ziamara and Daylin. Thank you.
So congratulations to all of our students. When I saw Daylin up there, it reminded me that our Rotary Club of North Ridgeville, led by Patricia Barr, once a month also recognizes 2 students from our high school and has done this for some time now. Last month, it was Dane Bartlebaugh was one of the students and Daylin Baker was another. So it's exciting to continue to see our amazing students out there in the community and really doing our schools and our community proud. So congratulations, students, but this wouldn't be possible without our staff members. And we have 2 awesome staff members to share with the board and our public tonight. And I introduce Mrs. Annie Hostetler, who will introduce our staff members of the month.
Great. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the Board of Education, it is my privilege to recognize our 2 staff members, 1 certified and 1 support staff for the November staff recognition. Staff recognition candidates are nominated by their peers for their contributions to the North Ridgeville City Schools and the entire community. For the November certified staff member of the month, I am proud to recognize Courtney Teller. Courtney is an 8th grade intervention specialist in our Orange studio at NRAC. She was hired in June of 2019, and before coming to NRCS, she had worked as an intervention specialist in both Summit Academy and Parma, and prior to that, lived and worked in Indiana. Courtney's nominator expressed her wonderful work ethic, her care for students, and her empathy for the well-being of her colleagues. As stated, Courtney works hard to modify assignments for her students so they are able to show their full potential in class and create confidence in themselves and in the areas they struggle. Courtney works long hours, staying late most nights to create the best learning environment for her caseload and works with her students as well as the general education students every morning to check for understanding and accuracy. She is kind to her coworkers, she is a great listener, and she offers meaningful advice to make us all better educators and individuals. With all of the added stress and anxiety of the school year, Courtney is the glue that keeps the 8th grade Orange team together. Congratulations, Courtney, and thank you for your fantastic work and dedication to our students and staff. Next is Mr. John Kirchner, who was selected as our support staff member of the month. Mr. Kirchner was hired in December of 2017, first as a night custodian at both the high school and ECLC, until he was hired as our head custodian at the Academic Center in December of 2018. Prior to his employment with NRCS, John retired as a lieutenant from the Bay Village Police Department. The following are a few of the many appreciative comments about John. Mr. John is a wonderful person. He is willing to go the extra mile to make our building a wonderful place to work. He has a smile on his face and a joke to share. Thank you for all you do. Another colleague added, Mr. Kirschner is an outstanding member of the NRAC family. He is consistently there for the students and the teachers with a helping hand and a huge smile on his face. Mr. Kirschner is kind, generous, hardworking, and always friendly. He works hard to keep our school and classrooms clean and safe for our children. He interacts with all of the students and makes them feel important. Whenever you ask Mr. Kirschner for extra help, he does it quickly and as efficiently as possible. He makes our school a better place each and every day and a happy place to learn. Congratulations, John, and thank you for your fantastic work and dedication to our students. The North Ridgeville City Schools are grateful for both staff, all of our staff members, including Courtney and John, and we are very fortunate to have them as members of our team.
Congratulations again to all of our students and our staff members. I do see many of you on the screen in front of us. We thank you for all of your service and all that you do to really make North Ridgeville City Schools the best place to learn and work. And on behalf of the board, I thank you all. Okay, moving on, we have our building report tonight from North Ridgeville Academic Center, and Mr. King is here to talk a little bit about the great things happening at NRAC. Mr. King.
Not as fun as the drive-in, but we'll see what we can do. Trust me with the clicker, we're going to see if it was worthy. All right, so right after I was hired to join North Ridgeville Schools, NRAC, I don't know, I just kept thinking, okay, how can we make this work? How can we make this work? What's a catchy slogan line? And just nothing came to me. But then I was riding in my car, and on that day, the air conditioner decided to not work, and it was probably 98 that day. And I was complaining about the air conditioner. God, it would be nice if the air conditioner was working. Well, that's when I came up with it's cooler in the AC. The academic center is the coolest place to be. I apologize for the other schools, but apparently they're going to fight me back on this. All right, so a few of the things that I'd like to share are coming up here, and let me go back. Yep, that's the first one we want to go to is the Unified Academic Center. This is the first year that it's running and operating as a complete 3-8 building. There are some challenges that were inherent in operating that way. However, we have found ways to make it work incredibly well. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about how we're making it even better for next year. In any school, it's quite the charge to have an open, free educational flow, but we have done it, I believe, incredibly well. And as it mentions up there, our charge this year is to educate the students of North Ridgeville, grades 3-8, in a safe, standards-based environment that promotes the development of the whole child. And we just have been a global pandemic, but the amazing staff that you just heard about, 2 of them are really what are making this just a fantastic building to learn in for our students. Some of the pictures there in the lower left, that is the leadership team for the Academic Center this year. This is Michelle Riley, myself, Mr. Plantner, and Mr. Maurer. The Exploring Space, we had a real-life NASA rocket scientist come and visit our 4th grade. Then, of course, some of our traditional salt map terraforming. Upper right is the teaching team that went to OMLA and brought back some amazing ideas from other middle school teachers throughout the state, and the world famous NRAC cheerleading squad, all rock stars. Something that I know our staff is very excited is we have gotten all the technology that was kind of mothballed because of the pandemic, because of the shutdown. If you don't use some of this equipment often enough, you're actually hurting it by keeping it operating. So a lot of it was shut down to keep it safe and operational for a long time to come. Well, is all up and running. We've been very thankful for the help from our curriculum department and Mr. Pritt, making sure that everything lined up and all the warranties were in place. Everything has fired up well, and our teachers and our students are very thankful that we're able to keep going with our many projects that we enjoy running. It's a lot of real life learning that these students are doing. Coming into it's only three. There you go. Okay. All right, thank you. Academic support. Some of these you have heard about before and a couple are new, but we're going to talk about them right quick. The reading intervention program, this was established prior to this year. However, this year we are working very intensely to make sure that our third graders have the reading intervention and support that they truly need. If you think of it this way, the last time before August that they were in school was when they were in first grade. And some of them may not have had the true reading identification that they needed. You know, again, North Ridgeville did a great amount of work in the hybrid capacity last year to assist with reading and the needs of those students. However, this year, because we're in school full-time, we have done an amazing amount of work to identify current third graders who need the assistance. The program actually starts in first grade, but for us, of course, third. So throw that in there. I'll just mention that. The tutoring that we have in place for them is offered Monday through Thursday, 45 minutes after school. And we are even providing transportation for these students because we know to be able to truly assist with these students, we also need to assist the families as well. You know, lots of our moms and dads have different hours. We need to make sure that we can give these students the help they need. So the transportation piece was key. After school homework tutoring is new for this year. Big shout out to Mr. Greg Plantner and also Dr. Miller for helping us put this together. It's assistance for students in grades 4 through 8 with a teacher recommendation in both reading and math. It actually started this week. Recommends students that they can drop in and receive the assistance week by week as they are able. Again, we understand that everybody's schedule is a little bit different. This too is Monday through Thursday for 45 minutes. And in this case, families do need to be able to provide transportation. And lastly, the student to student, which is also key. I know none of you ever get bored of hearing teachers talk, or principals talk for that matter. But sometimes students need that other voice. And we are finding that some of our older students can truly assist the younger, and also students from the high school coming over to assist our students. It's that fellow voice using or speaking some of the same language that they understand better that has really helped our students grow and bloom using some amazing talent that we have in our own building and from the high school.
So,
Whoops. Oh, somebody's helping me out.
yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure.
Wizard of Oz. All right. So enrichment. Our enrichment period is new this year. It is a 40-minute block of time at the beginning of each school day. Enrichment is designed to assist students with a myriad of needs, whether it is reading, writing, mathematics, or character strong, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. It is an amazing time that has really increased our students' fluency and speed of reading. And since we have switched to math, their basic facts have sped up just amazingly well. You know, in the classroom, we are teaching our students so many different ideas that we have to keep going at a pretty good pace. The enrichment time period that we have brought in has really allowed for the studying and the pace of those facts so that when they go back into class, they have ready reference. It's already there, boom, in their head, so they're able to keep up with the pace of their language arts and math classes. It's pretty cool. Commitment to the Whole Child, our PBIS program. Ms. Armbruster is here. Ta-da-da. Ms. Armbruster, while at NRAC, achieved bronze status with PBIS in the state committee, doing incredibly well. For this year, we are bringing 3-4 on board, and they are acclimating incredibly well. We're putting our pieces and parts together to do a true kickoff when we come back in January and do everything we can to try to achieve silver status by the end of the school year. And a big piece of this was providing PD for our entire staff on what PBIS is and how to properly implement it. We will be opening a PBIS store here shortly in January. We have a pretty good budget allotted to allow our students realize the product of all their hard work. We're very excited about what that means for our students. Some of the pictures there on the left are toothpaste words, helping students to think before they speak. You know, okay, brush your teeth, think for a minute before you speak. For our younger kids, it's awesome. In the classroom, the second picture is Mrs. Franklin delivering one of her guidance lessons in our 3rd grade classroom. Just some amazing work that I got to sit in on. The third picture is part of the Amazing Shake in 7th grade, where literally they learn how to shake hands. Literally, they learn how to tie a tie. Literally, and they're doing it cooperatively together. Good, wholesome skills that are very necessary for life. And one of my favorites that occurred earlier this year, all the way on the right, is our Chalk Against Bullying. Very cool stuff. That bullying is not allowed. Next up, Character Strong. This is part of what we are doing to teach the whole child and character to our students. We are very thankful for Ms. Vance for helping us bring this aboard. This is not shiny pamphlet theory. This is not a one and done. This is across the grade levels. It is a graduated curriculum, and it's not force-fed to teachers, and it's not force-fed to students. What I personally really love about this is it's the base, and each teacher can build from it, individualize it, personalize it, because every different class that you run into is going to be markedly different based on who's in front of you, what the conversations are. And even within that year, the dynamics can change. And Character Strong, the way we're implementing it, responds to that incredibly well. And our Rangers will be incredibly Ranger strong using Character Strong. So we are very thankful for Ms. Vance to sending that our way. I promise I'm almost done. We are very lucky because, again, we're a pretty big building that we do have 2 very strong parent groups. We have the PTO in grades 3-4, led by Ms. Papish, and boosters 5-8, led by Ms. Steven. Both of them have had record-breaking fundraisers this year, which we're not going to complain about, which is amazing. Butterbraid did, oh my gosh, if I can remember off the top of my head, I want to say about 7,000. Triathlon did around 16,000, you know, for getting kids to run. Well, if you want me to run, it's going to take about 16,000. Some of the dance moves were pretty cool. We just had outstanding fundraisers for both of the groups. Even though we are a combined building, I would suggest that those 2 groups stay apart because there are some things that they do differently. Some of the parties, gatherings are markedly different, and we want to make sure that they're special for each of those grade sets. However, as it says in the middle, working together, they have come together. They work very well together, helping us out with staff meals, finding volunteers to help out in the cafeteria, teacher grants, special event volunteers, contributing to our night at the drive-in, and a quick commercial. They are both having their spiritware sale that got emailed out today, so check your email. Some pretty cool stuff. I've already taken a look and started my order. So just a great thank you to the families that are a part of our booster organizations. They have just done an amazing job. and NRAC giving back or being a part of our community. We were honored when Representative and Senator Manning visited NRAC. We were able to show them around, including some of our technology and our PBL and standards-based grading environments. They were truly pleased to see North Ridgeville at the forefront of education. And in the middle, oh, look at that, you have a laser, how about that? Right here in the middle is Officer Trampush, who is our SRO at the Academic Center. The city was incredibly helpful in joining us, getting the flagpole up. The mayor joined us for flag raising along with superintendent and her administrative team. We were able to have an official flag raising with the honor guard from the North Ridgeville Police Department. And we were looking to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to continue the development of this area of grass right here. Something community-centered, honoring America. More details to come when we get some plans going on that. You can also see our Veterans Wall here, celebrating our veterans from North Ridgeville. And then down here is Rake a Difference Day, not Make a Difference, but Rake a Difference Day. Anna Lombardo led the charge from ATEAL. Staff and students walked to South Central Park where they cleaned up the grounds to help beautify the park. Parents also volunteered, donated supplies, snacks, water, etc. to make it a very successful event featuring Ranger Strong trait of S for service. Just an incredible event. And if you go in some of our classrooms, you can still see all the rakes waiting to go home because kids keep forgetting them. Over here is our 8th grade when they visited the Amherst Veterans Mural Wall. All the students in 8th grade attended the Veterans Day ceremony at the Veterans Mural Wall in Amherst. Afterwards, our students participated in our program at the Amherst Cinema, where they heard from the panel of veteran MVPs whose experiences ranged from World War II to military mothers and veterans of the Gulf War. Our 8th graders were attentive and respectful throughout both ceremonies, which is awesome. And then one last picture in the very middle, our students participating in Red Ribbon Week. And all that, we managed to have a little fun here and there, of course, being a part of the community event at the drive-in. We also celebrate our Rangers with our monthly Student of the Month celebration. We'd like to say this is Halloween, but this is daily. No, it really is Halloween. Yeah, where else can you get Santa and a dinosaur? Yeah, that's pretty cool. One of my favorites, being a former government teacher, social studies teacher, is National Geographic brought the largest map of the state of Ohio to our building, and it actually fit in the library, which was amazing. So it was a great lesson on geography and how it all works together within the environment. Some of our staff dressing up for Halloween as well. And through, last but not least, one of our counselors, Nikki Roth, who's just incredibly awesome. She put together Food Truck Friday every Friday in October. There's a different food truck that came to the building, and our staff turned out and drove along with the high school staff, some members of the board administration, won't say who, but they're awesome. They came out too. Lots of amazing food. And during the 1 PD day, there was even a cookie dough truck, which I spent way too much money on. And then last but not least, coming soon. As I mentioned, we are a new building, meaning we're new in the aspect that we are running 3/8. And I believe that we are doing some things very well, but we are always looking to make improvements. So late January through early March, we will be hosting listening sessions for students, staff, community, board, of course, senior administration, to share with us their vision of what they would like to see NRAC be 3/8. And then we're going to do everything we can to put that all together, building our new master schedule going forward, the alignment of resources, and of course, building on a solid reputation that NRAC has. So we look forward to inviting all of you to come by and hear your thoughts. And that is a very long, quick presentation about what's happening at the Academic Center. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
I have a question. Mr. King, can you tell us a little bit more about the after-school homework tutoring? You had mentioned it's like a week-to-week type thing. Can they have to sign up to do it for a week, or they drop in any day? I know it's new. I know you just said you just rolled it out.
It is a week at a time, but
Alright.
students don't have to attend daily. So what you would do is notify the week before, and if you let us know the best you can, but again, if there's a family emergency, take that into account.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so they sign up ahead of time
Preferably the week before.
okay, all right, thank you. Can you tell us some of the things that are gonna be in the PBIS store? Or is that top secret? Because if it's top secret, I get it.
It's not top secret, but what we have out right now is a survey to our students, because if I chose, they probably wouldn't want it.
Okay.
So we want to hear from them,
Yeah,
because
That's
they're
nice.
the ones who are going to be picking and choosing.
very good.
We're gonna have some upper tier prizes and whatnot for those who are incredibly ranger strong. We made some minor electronics all the way down to, and as you guys have seen, like Scholastic book sales, just different gadgets and gizmos and like little topper deals. But again, it's gonna be student driven, so that way we know that they're gonna want to work for it.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you, appreciate it.
I know at one point you made the comment about first graders and first time they've been back in school as third graders. We've all been so involved in this pandemic that really hit home.
Yeah.
Hearing that out loud, the realization of it for our students. And I'm glad to see some of the things that you're doing at NREC in regards to the tutoring and the interventions. And we made that commitment to the community that we would do everything that we could to get their students back up to speed and provide the resources. So I was glad that was part of your presentation. It's important that the community knows we are doing everything we can to get these kids where they need to be in spite of the pandemic.
It is an excellent allocation of resources with some very, very dedicated staff. Many of them already know the students, so they're already having that connection from the get-go. I'm very impressed by the folks that agreed and signed up, and the parent response was awesome. You know, they truly understand that we're in it for the best interests, and I think what's planned for the students won't seem like more, but they'll be engaged and continue that learning. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. King. Just a couple of things while our treasurer, Mr. Cassini, is getting set up to talk about our 5-year forecast. The group of our statewide school administrators, BASA, Buckeye Association of School Administrators, is working with all of our local senators, representatives, in a project called Heart and Souls. And part of that project is to get our local senators, representatives into our buildings and to show the great things that are happening in schools. We often hear, about the legislation, that we are working to implement in our schools. And part of this initiative is to show really what happens in schools and to make those people who are setting laws and rules for schools a part of it, and to understand a little bit better the things that do happen in our public schools, and really to support and promote our great teachers, our amazing students, and all of the great things that we do in all of our communities. So Gail and Nathan Manning, as you know, have been extremely supportive of us and have come out a couple of times, but most recently with our superintendent from Lorraine County to learn a lot about North Ridgeville City Schools. And I do think that with the team in front of you, they were extremely impressed with all of the different things that they were able to see. And just a quick comment, and Mr. King mentioned this about the Veterans Day 8th grade trip. Mr. Pritt and I made that trip, and we weren't exactly sure what we were walking into. Mr. Pelfrey also went, and it was an enormous success. It was the entire 8th grade, led by Nikki Rolfe, who you heard a little bit about in Mr. King's presentation. They were able to pull together 8 veterans who have served our country in one way or another. Actually, one was the mother of a veteran that we lost in battle. And many of these people, in fact, there was an aunt also on that wall that you saw. Her nephew was painted on the wall as one of the photographers, and that was his main role as part of one, I can't remember which war it was, if it was Vietnam or, I'm not sure, David, if you remember. But it was just a remarkable experience for our 8th grade students who sat and listened for the entire hour and a half. And I've got to tell you, they were interested. Every single person on that stage was captivating, told an incredible story, and it really was just an outstanding experience. So thank you for including that, Mr. King. And finally, I'd like to turn it over to our treasurer, Mr. Cassini, who's going to talk a little bit about our district and our 5-year forecast.
Good evening, everybody. Everybody's doing well. Thank you, Ms. Masario, President Baca, members of the board. This is always a good time for me to talk about the financial position of the school district with the presentation of the 5-year forecast. I'm going to first talk about what the forecast is, why we do it, and then we will get into some of the more specific topics and some of the changes as they relate to North Ridgeville City Schools. The 5-year forecast is a requirement under Ohio Revised Code. We submit it twice annually to the state with the initial report in November, and then an update in May of each fiscal year. We currently are in fiscal year 22, which runs from July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. We use the forecast as a tool to assess the financial health and direction of the school district. It's used to engage the board and the community in long-range planning and to provide information needed to make financial decisions, both now and years from now. It serves as a basis for the approval of contracts and negotiated agreements. And finally, it is a method for oversight organizations like the Ohio Department of Education and the Auditor of State to identify school districts with potential financial issues. The forecast is very much a working document. I do create the forecast in a conservative manner using the most current information available at this time. And that information does change a lot. As I'm sure all of you know, there are two parts to every school district. You have your revenues and you have your expenditures. The forecast is developed using information and assumptions in each of those two areas. These are some of the major items impacting the assumptions used and the corresponding results of the current 5-year forecast. Real estate and state funding are the district's two largest revenue sources. Continued economic development and changes in total assessed property valuation impact both of these revenue sources. And now with the implementation of Ohio's new Fair School funding plan, these two revenue sources are more related to one another than ever before. Additional rounds of ESSER funding were allocated to the school district, changing the pace of expenditures, improving bottom line numbers by pushing out deficit spending by a year. Enrollment and staffing. This has been a big topic recently and one that we've talked about during recent presentations. The school district has seen an increase of nearly 200 new students during this year alone. Increasing enrollment leads to greater needs in the area of staffing and overall costs to operate the school district at current levels. With revenues and expenditures both growing, the trends show the growth in our expenditures have been consistently outpaced by the growth in our revenue, to the point now where they are very close to each other. And we have been teetering between these surplus and deficit situations depending on these anomaly events, such as being cut in state funding and then receiving multiple rounds of one-time federal funding due to COVID. These events have pushed out deficit spending by a year, with a small surplus projected for the current fiscal year and deficit spending as early as next year, as our revenue is no longer able to keep up with our expenditures. This results in a worsening financial stability over time, as illustrated by that downward sloping line on the graph. In fact, without additional revenue, the district would need to cut its expenses by nearly 9%, or $5.3 million, by the time we get to that last year on the 5-year forecast. Real estate and state funding remain the school district's two largest revenue sources. And from the illustration, you can see the makeup of actual figures from the previous fiscal year and how that's projected to change throughout the forecast period. You see real estate becoming a larger percentage and state funding a smaller percentage. It's happening for a few different reasons that I will talk about. Increases in forecasted revenues are being driven primarily by real estate, property valuation growth, reappraisals, new construction. State funding becomes a smaller portion of the overall picture, noted by the significant decrease from 21 to 22 in those green blocks. This is due to a new state funding formula. The changes were multidimensional. So you're seeing less revenue here, but we also see less on the expenditure side as well. As we are being funded less on the state side, real estate continues to grow. And that is one of the main reasons why we see it, our state funding come in at a lower percentage of the overall picture, and real estate becoming a larger one throughout the forecast period. The chart at the bottom here illustrates the district's total assessed valuation over time. If you remember, assessed valuation is 35% of the market value. So this chart represents 35% of the total overall market value of North Ridgeville City School District and the community. About 89% of total assessed valuation is made up of residential properties. You can see the increasing trend in total assessed valuation over time and how that equates to dollars and cents for the school district on line 1.01 of the 5-year forecast. Historically, the factors driving that trend have been reappraisals, new construction in the area. This has been a very steady, stabilized growth. If you look at the column titled Res Reappraisal / Update, you can see how the valuation has changed over time, starting in 2015, which was a reappraisal year, then 2016 update, 2017 update, 2018 reappraisal year. These happen every third year. Now, these are actual figures, not estimates. If you look at 2019 and 2020, you see how the updates are getting bigger. That is because of all the new properties being added to the tax duplicate. 2021 and beyond are now getting into the estimates, with 2021 being another reappraisal year. And given the current market conditions, the forecast assumes a higher % change than in any other prior year. If you look at the column titled Res New Construction, you can see, again, that steady, stabilized growth. You can see how consistent that is all the way down to the projections. This is the basis of what is being projected on the 5-year forecast. Historical trends, market trends, and any recent information that we know at this time when it comes to new development is used as a base for the growth assumed. In North Ridgeville, the number of new house construction building permits has been dramatically higher than the statewide average, over 300 in each of the last couple of years alone. So again, you can see why local funding continues to become a larger piece of the overall picture. On the next slides, I'm going to talk about how the school district is funded by the state and some of the major changes that are beginning in this fiscal year. So for the current fiscal year, 2022, Ohio adopted the Fair School Funding Plan. Funding is being driven by a base cost methodology that incorporates the 4 components identified as necessary to the education process. The base cost is currently calculated for 2 years using a statewide average from historical actual data. There are 4 base component areas, and you can see them listed there. Enrollment figures are used taking either the 3-year average of 19, 20, and 21, or just 21 by itself, whichever is lower. This is used in combination with total base cost to come up with a per pupil base cost. The plan then takes it a step further using a capacity methodology to determine state and local portions of funding. The plan also changes the definition of enrollment. So I'll talk more about why that is so important, but it is one of the major reasons why we're seeing multidimensional changes across our 5-year forecast in the amount of funding that we receive and as well as the amount of cost that we incur. Finally, the plan implemented guarantees, which was a big positive for us. We are now a guarantee district. So the new plan relies upon a calculation of base cost to educate a student. It's unique to each district. The calculation uses enrollment, student demographics to determine costs for teachers, other staff, supplies. Base cost per pupil for North Ridgeville is that 7,216 number. Once the base cost is calculated, the capacity methodology that I just mentioned is used. It calculates a local per pupil share based on the district's capacity to pay. And that's illustrated by the pie chart there. This capacity methodology looks at income levels as well as property valuation. For North Ridgeville, our capacity is 50% higher than the statewide average. The remaining portion after the local capacity is determined is what we are then funded by the state as the state share per pupil, again, being illustrated by the pie chart there. If you remember from one of my previous presentations, I talked about how we had been frozen for several years. We were receiving that same flat dollar amount regardless of enrollment changes, property valuation changes. We were getting that same amount, and that was from a time when our funding, our state share index was at 35%, meaning our funding was based on 35% of the total per pupil number. Well, when this new plan was implemented, it brought in all the new income levels, all the new property valuations since that time that we were frozen, both of which have increased. The result of that you can see at the bottom of this slide here, which would be our new calculated state share index percentage of 21.91%. That right there shows how much the district has grown. The state thinks we have grown too. In a matter of a few years, our state share index going from 35% to 21.9% because of the growth or capacity that we have. We look incredibly wealthy compared to a lot of school districts in the state of Ohio. You can see how that percentage continues to go down as the growth that I showed you on the local funding slides is projected to continue. Now, that is the calculated funding. That's how the calculation works. The plan that's being phased in includes guarantees. The graph at the top left with that downward sloping line, it shows that as more of the formula gets phased in, it pushes us higher and higher onto the guarantee, as illustrated by that graph on the top right. Now, that's not additional revenue, but those are amounts required to at least keep us at our fiscal year 20 base funding levels. Those are amounts that we would have otherwise lost if we were being funded strictly by the calculation. One of the biggest changes that Ohio made was the definition of enrollment. Ohio now uses district educated enrollment, which is comprised of resident students attending and open enrolled in students. Prior funding formulas, the district total formula ADM was used to calculate the state funding amounts. What this change does is reduce our net state funding amount because the district is no longer receiving funding for community schools, scholarship students. But at the same time, the district will no longer be expensing tuition to pay for these students, and therefore costs will be lower. The top graph summarizes key state revenue line items impacted by this plan. We will not see open enrollment in revenue as a source of revenue in the future. This, combined with no longer receiving funding for community school scholarship students, is an overall revenue decrease of $951,000 from fiscal year 21 to 22. Tuition expense for community schools, open enrollment out, STEM, scholarships, and Ed Choice are no longer incurred as expenses in fiscal year 22. And the result of that is a decrease of 1.5 million overall in tuition costs from 21 to 22. So that the net result is a favorable impact to the district of approximately 600,000. So basically, we see this benefit in this first year of implementation based on how they are allocating funds now. We are no longer a flow through or a pass through for certain elements of funding within the formula that have been removed. But throughout the forecast period, state funding is projected to stay relatively flat. As our state funding percentage gets lower, we are more reliant on the guarantee. The new plan keeping us right around the same amount of funding. This is a makeup of the district's total expenditures. The two biggest categories here being comprised of salaries and benefits. Those are the two categories that are projected to see the most increases when comparing prior year actuals to the last year on the 5-year forecast. You can see that purchase services category going down. That is where those tuition expenses I was just talking about are coming off. The forecast assumes expenditures increasing throughout the forecast period, primarily being driven by increases in staffing to accommodate an increasing enrollment. Expenditure growth has consistently outpaced our revenue to the point where our current revenue sources are unable to keep up. As enrollment increases, the district has to change the way that it operates. We also have to stay competitive. We've been able to utilize federal funding such as ESSER to offset various permanent improvement in general fund expenditures to help improve our bottom line, basically pushing out deficit spending for an entire year. The historical trends indicate a financial health trend. If expenditures are greater than revenue over time, then financial health will suffer and services may not be sustainable. Revenue shortfalls in 1 or 2 years is often the directional trend indicator of the need to do one of two things, and that is to increase revenues and or decrease expenditures. If the cash balance is used too many times to balance these deficits, then the amount of additional revenue needed grows exponentially. While the cash balance can help soften the urgency, it's not a long-term solution. So we always want to be as proactive as possible, staying ahead of the curve before it begins this downward pattern. Asking those questions, where can we spend less? How can we be more efficient? How can we get creative with the funding that we do have? For example, we have our typical transportation replacement plan. We were able to use some of that federal funding to purchase new school buses, saving money in our permanent improvement fund so we can maintain our facilities. All of, from my perspective, talking about this now, it's part of being fiscally responsible to the community, to the Board of Education. In 2 years, the school district is deficit spending, projected to be deficit spending by 2.4 million. It's going to cost the taxpayers significantly more money to fix that deficit, plus the ones that come after it, by waiting until we get closer to that point. The earlier you ask for operating dollars, the less that you need to ask for. It provides for a longer term plan for the school district. If you look at that first arrow, proposed new levies, you can see that is a model of an operating levy passed in the spring of 22. But you can see that it takes 2 years before that gets fully recognized by the district. So the first fiscal year following an election is only going to generate half of a typical year's proceeds from a tax levy. So a levy passed in the spring of 22 would give us the ability to keep it reasonable, to keep it under 5 mils. So as I'm sure that you can imagine, if we were to wait the following year or the year after that, say 2024, that millage would be well into the 6 mils, if not more. Knowing that you're already deficit spending at that point by 2.4 million. 2025, you're going to collect half and then not until 2026 where you would end up fully recognizing the proceeds from that levy, but you're already deficit spending over 5 million at that point. As a school district, the most important thing, we always want to be in a good financial position. So my recommendation would be an emergency operating levy in the spring of 22. It would fulfill the board's promise, and I really do think that timing makes sense for North Ridgeville. Knowing that we have a year-over-year increasing enrollment, we are out of classroom space. We are going to have to do something to address the space issue. And we will likely be getting into a building project to complete our master facilities plan. All of that takes time, similar to how it takes time to fully recognize funds generated from a potential levy passage. We need to be able to operate throughout that time while being fiscally responsible to all of our stakeholders. With that, that is the conclusion of the forecast report. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Pacini? Mr. Pacini, outstanding job in presenting the financial health of our district and the impact of deficit spending and what it does for us. Can you also just touch on a little bit about bond ratings and the impact deficit spending has and cash on hand and what that does to future borrowing down the road and the importance of a healthy financial picture?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one of the major elements that they look at when you're going to do any kind of refinancing or bond issue, for sure. I mean, it's very similar to a credit score or credit rating, and that is one of the key indicators that they look at when they are going to assess, like a Moody's or an S&P. That's one of the first things that they look at, and yeah, that could definitely have a major impact on a potential bond rating. That it's all a circle that would then, impact the amount of money that you can save on a future refinancing. So it really is, it all comes full circle.
And I know you had presentations in the past, but I think it's worth sharing with the community again. We just refinanced. How much money did we save the taxpayers in this last round of refinancing our bond issues?
About $2 million we saved.
And that doesn't take into effect the other 2 times that we refinanced where we again saved the taxpayers millions of dollars. And that's directly related to our current bond rating and the fiscal health of the district.
Yep, that is correct. Yes.
And we're doing everything we can to be fiscally responsible, but our needs haven't changed. We are a growing district, and the impact of being a growing district is clearly reflected in what you presented tonight. And there's no reason to think that's slowing down at this point, correct?
Right. There's no indication that I've seen of it.
And where the guarantee might help, that's legislative. So at any rate, that could change, correct?
That is correct. So the guarantees were put into permanent law for 2 years. After that, beyond that point, we don't know. I don't see that going away completely. I think that would somehow be incorporated into the formula. But yeah, as of right now, where we stand, it's been permanent law for 2 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
That President Baca concludes superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, moving to announcements. Is there any announcements this evening? All right, we'll move to hearing of the public. Here's an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Education. Please approach the podium, state your name and sign in, and you can address the Board of Ed at this time. Okay, seeing none, we will move right into the consent agenda. As recommended that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda resolution as presented. By Ms. McCarthy, second by Ms. Miro. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey, Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. We'll move right into the finance audit report. We have two items for your consideration under the finance audit report. The first item is the resolution to approve the financial reports for the month of October 2021. The second item is a resolution to approve the November 2021 5-year forecast and assumptions report. I move to approve the finance audit items in one reading.
Second.
Moved by myself, second by Ms. Saxon. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Vaca,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey, Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move into human resources report. Ms. Saxon.
Yes, we have a few items to consider under the human resources report. 2 support staff resignations, 1 supervisor resignation, 1 supplemental contract resignation, 1 supplemental contract appointment, 1 non-NREA supplemental contract appointment, 1 special project supplemental contract, 2 support staff appointments, 1 recognition of an unpaid volunteer. I move to approve the human resources items in one reading.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Saxon, second by Ms. Tamira. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey, Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. It is recommended the Board of Education enter into executive session for review and negotiations of public employees concerning their compensation and other terms and conditions of employment. There will be no action to follow.
Second.
By Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey, Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming out this evening.